With the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the Rams YouTube channel on Locked On's network. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button. Also, drop your comments down below. Who do you want to see the Rams select in the first round with the number 26 pick? My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, Dodgers Nation, SI. As always, I'm joined by the Rams pre-half and post-game show host for the Rams flagship radio station, ESPN 710 LA. He's entering his 10th season covering your Los Angeles Rams, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. You can follow him on X at Travis Rogers. And on today's episode, we have 6 realistic candidates for the Rams to draft if they keep that 26 overall pick. Also, Cooper Kupp made some comments about his time in Seattle so far. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, Travis, so we're going to get into the draft picks quickly here. But I did not know if you saw this, but Kevin Demoff, he absolutely cooked a 49ers podcaster on X. So there's a 49ers podcaster, goes by the name of John Chapman, who quote tweeted the Rams' new facility. People are calling it Ram-a-Lot, right?
I like that.
And he quote tweeted that facility, and he said 75% of the building should be filled by other NFL teams, just like SoFi, #consistency. And then Kevin Demoff, he quote tweeted him with a gif of Aaron Donald pointing to the ring and the NFC Championship game in 2021. And he said, imagine the insecurity you must have to jump into a post about another team's practice facility plan. So Kevin Demoff from the top rope, just cooking Niners fans.
That's how you do it. I mean, that is exactly how you do it. You come in with the championship. You come in with the moment that it all kind of turned around. And the Rams, I know they struggled with the Niners for a long time, but they got the one that they had to have. You have the classic Aaron Donald pointing to his ring. And then, look, there really is no surviving a how insecure are you comeback to do that. There's nothing you can say. You're boxed in. There's nothing to do. So job well done, Kevin Demoff. I love it. Excellent. And I love Ram-a-Lot. That's a great way to do it.
We're calling it Ram-a-Lot, man. That's what it's going to be. For the Ramley and the whole gang, man. It's going to be a great place to go. I wish they could just make it overnight and just have it be that, right? But that definitely got a lot of fans excited yesterday. But we're going to dive into the draft. And for the Locked On Network, we're doing a network-wide mock draft, and every host is getting an opportunity to make their picks. And for us, we did what Rams do, and that is F them picks and get more picks if you can get the guy you want in the first round. So we traded down twice already, and I still got a lot of quality for us with the 40th overall pick. I got offensive lineman Josh Conerly out of the University of Oregon. Now, the Rams, they're in a position where you got Rob Havenstein, Big Rob. He could be in his last year with the Rams. I mean, he's the longest tenured player. He was with the franchise all the way back in 2015 when they were still in St. Louis. Also dealt with some injuries last season, and Conerly could be the future, the long-term solution at that position. He's a little slight when you look at the average size for a tackle. I mean, he's someone who's 6'4", 311 pounds, but he's got the length. He's got the power to get the job done. 9 pressures he allowed last year at Oregon, just 1 sack. He was a running back in high school, so he's got these great feet where he can mirror linemen, has great hand placement. So, yeah, I think Conerly could be our guy in the first round. I don't think we get him at 40 like we did in the Locked On draft, but I do think that it's possible we get him at 26 in the NFL draft.
Yeah, Doug, one of the things that I always kind of like to envision or role play or however you want to call it is, if you heard that name come out of Roger Goodell's mouth, how do you feel about it? And if Roger Goodell said, at the 26th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Josh Conerly, I think everybody would be like, yeah, okay. I mean, it's not one of those where you're jumping up and down, because that's not really what you do when you pick a depth lineman piece. But this could be a starter sooner than later. Like you said, Rob Havenstein was a St. Louis Ram. That's a long time ago. Rob Havenstein's had a great career for the Rams, but I agree with you. A lot closer to the end than you are to the beginning. They need some offensive line depth. Really, I know I'm a broken record when I say this. I know that the everydayers have heard me say this a million times. If your offensive line is bad, it's a wrap. It is literally unsurvivable. And the Rams have a good offensive line right now, but it is a relatively thin offensive line. There isn't a ton of depth right there. So if you lose a guy, you can probably withstand it. But what happens if that second guy goes down? And like we know, that happens a lot in this league. We saw the couple of times the Rams have struggled. It's because their offensive line just went to, shambles all of a sudden. And I think they're taking strides to address that. So I think Conerly would be a really good step in that direction. You saw him go and get Coleman Shelton back again. He's going to be a depth piece. And now all of a sudden you have some versatility there. But the one thing they don't have a ton of versatility on is at tackle. So they need to start adding some depth there. And I think Conerly fits the bill really, really well.
Absolutely. And look, the history of this franchise is the 2 Super Bowl wins. You had elite left tackles. Both those guys were 6'7", in Andrew Whitworth and Orlando Pace. But with Conerly, what makes him so interesting is just he has a lot of tools that could make him a perennial Pro Bowler, even All-Pro one day. A 5.05 40-yard dash, 33.5-inch arms, 1.7, 110-yard split, a 34.5-inch vertical jump. So what he may lack in just overall size, he makes up for in athleticism. Also a 2-year starter already at the University of Oregon, and he's not even 22 years old yet. He turns 22 in November. So I think the upside is certainly there. I think he could go down as one of the best tackles in this draft class. And I think if you're the Rams, you're just looking for a lot of quality at that position. And if you do stay there, it's which guy gives the best upside there. And there has been some talk about, do they take quarterback? I don't know if you saw this, Mel Kiper Jr. He has the Rams taking Jackson Dart in his latest NFL mock draft. Could they go quarterback? Could they go cornerback? Could they go offensive tackle? So they go a lot of different ways. My gut tells me that it's the Rams going to do what they're always going to do, and that is stay fluid, try to take the best player available. If there's an opportunity to trade up, then you kind of do that. So I think that they're going to stay nimble like they always do.
I do too. I think that's just kind of been their signature. If there's something they like, they go and they take it. If there's something that, they think they can get a little bit later, they'll move back. We've seen them move up to go get, Jared Goff being the most recent example of them moving way up to go do it. I want to go back to something you mentioned about Conerly real quick. It's a little bit different, and maybe this is going to get a little less common as we move further and further into the NIL era in college sports. But I like the fact that Conerly was in a big-time program and played in a lot of big games. I think that's incredibly important, that a guy that has been at a program like Oregon, last year playing in the Big Ten, I think is the best preparation you can get for stepping into the pros, because you're playing against a lot of other pros in the Big Ten. You're playing against a lot of other pros in the SEC, the Pac-12 back in the day. So I like that he was there. I like that he started a lot of football games. I like that he held his own. So I'm always looking for guys that come out of winning programs. Oregon has been a winning program over the last few years. So I really like that there. But to kind of close the loop on that, I think that you're going to see them pick at 26. I think that you mentioned Jackson Dart a second ago. I know we'll talk about some realistic picks coming up here in a second. I think that name keeps popping up a lot. And at some point, you got to put some sort of credence in it. But I would not hate seeing them go for some lineman depth at that 26 position.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw them have success with the Steve Avila pick a couple of years ago, early in the second round. And I think the question becomes, too, the future of Rob Havenstein. I mean, just kind of diving into him yesterday, like how the hell is he only 32? Like he's going to turn 33 in May, but it feels like he's been with this Rams organization since like the Vince Ferragamo days, right? I mean,
well, it's because he came in, he started right away, and he plays every game. You know what I mean? It's like there's never, and quite frankly, because he's been so incredibly steady, it's never one of those, man, Havenstein's killing them, right? We never say that because he's never killing them. He's just a rock solid performer, has been for a decade. But, you know, you get 10 years out of a tackle in this league, that is an incredible accomplishment. And we're getting near to that 10-year mark.
Absolutely. And you got to be proactive at the position. If you can get quality, especially at that part of the draft, then you go and do it. But coming up next, we've got 5 other realistic first-round draft candidates that the Rams could pick up. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You've probably heard of Chewy. They really do have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. So whether you're shopping for food, treats, or even pet healthcare, Chewy makes it fast, easy, and affordable. They've got over 100,000 products from all your favorite brands. Chewy has everything your pet needs, from food and treats to toys, beds, and grooming. And it's not just for dogs and cats. They've got supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, and small pets as well. And Chewy makes it easy to manage your pet's health with prescriptions, telehealth vet visits, and in-person vet clinics rolling out nationwide. And AutoShip, obviously, is a game changer. You can set up automatic deliveries for food, treats, or any essentials so you never run out, and your little guy never runs out either, right? You can easily change or cancel at any time. It makes managing your pet care even easier than you could possibly imagine. Never running out of those essentials, easy vet care access, everything right to your door. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet healthy and happy. And right now you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com or clicking the link in the description. Save $20 on your first order with free shipping by clicking that link right there in the description. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a special shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. You guys have been lighting up the comments down below. Start dropping your questions. We're going to throw in a mailbag episode, so definitely any questions you want to hear Travis or I answer, definitely drop those down below. And this is the time to join that Every Listeners Club, too. You got the draft coming up. You got your Rams that have been a part of all the headlines this offseason. So definitely join that Every Listeners Club and watch and listen to every single episode Monday through Friday, and you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. All right, Travis, here in our second segment, we're going to pick it up on the first round, and we're going to talk about realistic candidates they could take. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they should get Cam Ward with the 26th pick. Oh, they should get Travis Hunter with a 26th pick. I'm talking.
They should, if they can. They should do that.
I would say great move, right? Yeah. Realistic candidates. So, sure. Yes, there's some guys that can drop, some guys can fall. You're always going to see draft day surprises. But the first one we're going to get into is cornerback Jahdae Barron out of Texas. So you could argue that right at the top of the Rams draft needs is a premier number one level cornerback, a true number one cornerback. And Jahdae Barron certainly has the potential to be just that. Last year at Texas, 5 picks, 46 tackles, 11 pass deflections. He didn't allow 1 touchdown. All-American, first-team All-SEC, James Thorpe Award. I mean, his accolades are very long, and he's very physical. He's versatile. He can play boundary. He can play safety. He can play as a nickel and be very disruptive in that role. I think there is a world where he's like a top 15 player in this draft, the way he looks. And I just like the idea of potentially saying, yes, another weapon would be nice. Yes, you could solidify the offensive line, but they've needed a corner for a couple of years. They just haven't had that guy since Jalen Ramsey, and we saw the impact he had on winning. So I actually would really love the idea of potentially going the cornerback in the first round.
Yeah, everything that I said about Conerly coming from a marquee program and playing in a lot of important games, slap that right over there too. Texas certainly qualifies in the exact same way, and maybe even to a higher degree because it's in the SEC. So there's that for sure. I think for me, Doug, what it comes down to is what can you survive without? Maybe not quite as much as what do you need more. It's what can you afford to be less than less. For instance, just saying what we talked about before. If I said to you, you can be a little bit bad at the offensive line or a little bit thin in the offensive line, or you can be about what you've been at corner. I want to address that offensive line. I agree with you. They do need a kind of a stalwart corner that they have not had since Jalen Ramsey. That's a piece that's been missing. I'm with you. But the pieces that they've been able to put out there have been kind of sort of good enough. I know it's not, eye-popping statistically. I know it's not a bunch of guys that are going to go to the Pro Bowl every single season, but they seem to get off the field when they need to get off the field. I think you can survive with, and I don't mean this derisively, I mean this just, with average to maybe just barely below average secondary play. I think you can survive that. You cannot survive offensive line problems. It is just, it is an unsurvivable problem. So I don't have a problem with going corner there in the first round, but for me personally, I would address that offensive line ahead of that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair too, right? I think it depends on the quality of player that you could get at that position and who's available. Yeah. I mean, that to me is what it's all about. Because I think if you just kind of pitch in your hole and say, okay, we're going to take the best player available at that position, no matter who it is, and that player is like a C or just like a B minus a B player, then it's different. But if you can get like an A player at a position and then you kind of fit him into that role, then I think it's a different conversation. But look, for me, when it comes to you look at free agents and offensive linemen and quarterback. I mean, there's just certain positions that you just can't get elite at that position. You got to hit that in the draft. I think certainly you're 100% correct. The offensive line is where you move on that. But I think the other interesting conversation that the Rams have to be having at this point heading into this draft is you just got they renew their vows, right? Matthew Stafford and the organization, right? The recommitment with them, right? They're like, okay, we're not better off without each other, right? And I think a part of that conversation after seeing the Davante Adams move is, okay, not only are we bringing you back and reuniting you, if you want to call it that, with this organization, Sean McVay, is we also realize that you mentioned Coleman Shelton. I mean, you had that bad read by Bo Limmer on the Jalen Carter and the bad communication. That could have cost them the season. So what do? They brought back a better communicator in Coleman Shelton at the center spot. You brought in Davante Adams, a guy that can do a lot of incredible things at the receiver spot. And then the question becomes, do you give him another weapon with the first round? Do you do the opposite of what the Packers did late in Aaron Rodgers' career and say, we're going to take Jordan Love, we can get you another weapon, offensive lineman, receiver, tight end? Could they go out there and find a way to get Colston Loveland from the University of Michigan? A very interesting, unique tight end. I think the interesting thing here is the fact that the Rams were very interested in the possibility of trading up last year. And I think that is something that could be a possibility as well.
Look, Tyler Higbee is getting to that point in his career where you have to, at least think about. I think they've been trying to find the next guy. They just haven't done it. Higbee's been really good, but Higbee's had some injury problems over the last few years. The one thing we have not seen the Rams have, and from an offensive standpoint, is that elite tight end, that offensive playmaking tight end. We've seen them with high-level wide receivers, Kupp, Puka Nacua, Robert Woods. We've seen what that looks like. It's been great. We've seen them with, all-pro level running backs and Todd Gurley, and that looked amazing. We've seen them with two really good, one Hall of Fame quarterback. They won the Super Bowl with that. Haven't really had that at tight end. That is a really interesting pick right there, for sure. I want to go back to you talking about the quarterback, and the Packers are the perfect little lab experiment. Do you give your aging, very good veteran quarterback another weapon to go try to win with in the relatively short term, or do you try to set yourself up for what's coming next? And I guess I'll answer it like this. The Packers did not win the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers as they were trying to, finish up the Rodgers era in Green Bay. But do you think they're happy with where they are right now? I think they are, right? They got a guy that they can stick back there for the better part of 10 years. They don't have to worry about the quarterback position, the number one position in football. It's a really tough call. If you think you're a tight end away from winning the Super Bowl, take the tight end. If you think you're a tight end and a bunch of other little things have to break your way, then I think maybe a kick back towards the quarterback. Because if you got a quarterback that you like, if they're looking at Dart or whoever it may be, Dart's the name that keeps coming up, and you're thinking, that's my guy, you have to take him. You have to take him, because the next time you get a chance to draft a quarterback is either A, going to be even later, or B, you're going to have to spend a ton of draft capital to move up to get a guy that you like. If there's a quarterback you like, you have to take him here. You have to do it.
Sure, no doubt about it. I mean, if they really feel that's the way, but I think that the last thing I want is, okay, you draft a quarterback and that guy is good for 10 to 12 years, but you don't win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you look back and you say, did we give Matthew Stafford every single possible weapon to win a Super Bowl? Because if you win a Super Bowl the next 10 years, I mean, organizations, they don't win Super Bowls that often, right? And
right.
I really think a Super Bowl buys you 10 years, right? Like,
right.
Especially in a major market like Los Angeles. And kind of what I think of when I think of Loveland is they were really interested in trading up for Brock Bowers last season. Yeah. So that tells you that not only do they like the player, it also means that Sean McVay was kind of licking his chops, thinking of schematically what he could do with a player that's dynamic like that. And there are some organizations that have Loveland ahead of Tyler Warren in this draft because just how rare his skill set is, the way he can move, the technical skills. He's got great size. I mean, a 30% target share at Michigan. He was only tight end that had a target share that high. So he's used to kind of being in those offenses with the high volume. So I think there's that standpoint as well. As we've seen with this organization, when they keep knocking on the door with certain needs, they eventually get that guy. They wanted an elite receiver for years, right? They wanted Mike Evans. They were interested in Romo Dunze. They finally get Devontae Adams. They wanted Brock Bowers. They were looking around for tight ends. They found a way to get Colby Parkinson. He hasn't worked out. We'll see if they get their guy. So it feels like they always kind of have these needs that eventually they fill, but sometimes they're a little patient with it.
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you're saying. I think that going for it when you have a quarterback like this is never a bad idea. But the only way you win Super Bowls is if you have a good quarterback, and they at least have to be somewhere between above average to excellent. And if they can have that piece for 10 years and keep getting bites at the apple, I don't hate that idea. Whereas opposed to we get another bite or two. You want 1 or 2 bites, or do you want 10 bites? And I'm not saying that whoever they would take a quarterback would be Matthew Stafford. The odds are they wouldn't be, right? Matthew Stafford's one of the greats of his generation. But without that piece, you're kind of dead in the water. And this is where I would go back to McVay. If McVay's looking at you saying, listen, you get me a tight end, you can never guarantee we're going to win the Super Bowl, but I don't need anything else. If you give me that, now all I need is good health and a little bit of good luck, and we're going to do it, then you go do it. If it's we're as good as this guy or that guy, and, hopefully it breaks our way, I'm going to do the quarterback.
For sure. And look, sometimes, you can win with Trent Dilfer. You can win with Nick Foles. You can win with 2015 Eli Manning. But outside of that, you got to get that top level quarterback to really have a realistic chance of hoisting that Lombardi trophy for sure. But coming up next, we're talking more realistic candidates. And Cooper Kupp had some interesting comments about his early time in Seattle. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
The NBA playoffs, just about here. And FanDuel, they're giving you new customers an incredible way to get in on all of your NBA playoff action. Right now, when you join FanDuel, all you have to do is place your first $5 bet, and here's what happens. You're going to get $250 in bonus bets if you hit that first $5 bet. And there's so many things to love about FanDuel. Man, the fact that it makes betting super easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or diving into some player props. I love the player props. Those are just super fun. 3-pointers to steals to assists. FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite players. So you can go your favorite players on your favorite teams. You know what I like to do sometimes too? Find guys that you don't like and bet against them. That's a fun way to do it too. Plus, after the game tips off, you can combine live prop bets into the same game parlay for a chance to win even bigger. Also, a lot of baseball stuff in there too. Doug and I love baseball as well. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, so we're going to pick up our our list on realistic first-round trade candidates tomorrow. Going to switch gears a little bit, talk about some Cooper Kupp. So weird to hear Cooper Kupp like talking as a Seattle Seahawk, but he said the biggest thing is just the people that this organization has brought in, all the players I talked to, just the culture of this organization, the winning culture of this organization. That's something I wanted to be a part of. Take a shot every time he says organization. You'd be pretty tossed pretty quick, but it feels really strange. He's talking about the 12s and the environment and this and that. My question is, how does Cooper Kupp look without Sean McVay scheming plays for him and without Matthew Stafford throwing the football to him?
That. The Cooper Kupp receiving passes from Sam Darnold, whose eyes are this big when he has somebody coming in his face, is going to be very, very interesting. Look, I'm sorry that Cooper Kupp is on a different team. I think that it was the right decision to move on from him at this point. I think that just from a pure football decision, I think it was the right thing to do, as difficult as it would have been emotionally. When I hear him talking about the things that he's talking about here, it reminds me of somebody who got dumped by their girlfriend and is really trying hard to sell you on the new one. And the new one's not as good as the old one. And everybody knows it. And okay, that's fine. I'm glad you like her. That's wonderful. That does sound nice. That's good. But you were married to Miss America for a long time. You went and you won the Super Bowl. So I hear him. I get it. I'm sure it's a challenge for him, and I don't believe a single word that he's saying.
Yeah, absolutely. He was with a supermodel. Now he's with kind of like that girl next door, right? He kind of went back to his high school sweetheart in Seattle, right? And he's kind of wearing his. He's a dude who's like wearing his high school Letterman jacket around Seattle, right? That something kind of like thing. Kind of feels like that, right?
It does not feel like this. Put it to you this way. I'm gonna switch analogies here. He didn't upgrade, right? He did not get the nicer car, the bigger house. This was a, we're going to downsize a little bit. We've decided that we want to live in a smaller place. We decided we want better gas mileage. This is not a step up. This is a step in a different direction. And I hope it works out for him for, 15 games a year. The 2 against the Rams, not so much. But I like Cooper Kupp, a great Ram. But I don't know, man. I just, every time I hear this, it's just one of those, okay, good. I'm happy for you. Good. Stop trying to sell.
It is kind of funny how quickly, how loyal. I mean, honestly, this is really more of a testament and a credit to how just loyal Rams fans are to the horns, to the colors, to the jerseys, to the helmet. To now it's like, oh man, Cooper Kupp, retire the number, build a statue. To now it's Gluteus Maximus, don't let the door hit you on the way out type thing. It's like, to me, it's like, I know that there's, of course, going to be fans like, okay, we'll root for Cooper Kupp every game unless it's against the Rams. Right. But now it's different because if those good games for him lead to Seahawks wins that lead to games that aren't beneficial for the Rams, like he kind of asked for it if he wanted to kind of maintain this with the Rams fans.
Put it to you this way. I look forward to the eventual jersey retirement ceremony when he comes back and he stands there and he waves at everybody and says, the best years of my life were in Los Angeles. I'll never forget it here. And I'll be a Ram for life. I look forward to that. Whatever happens between then and whatever's about to happen now, we'll see.
Exactly right. I would not be surprised. We'll see the kind of ovation he gets, I think. But as long as the Rams are winning, it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's going to be fine. Look, even if he goes and wins a Super Bowl in Seattle, which isn't going to happen, but even if he does, when he comes back to LA, when it's all said and done, they're going to love him. He was a great player. He won a Super Bowl MVP. They're gonna love him. They won't love him now because he's wearing a different uniform, but once you've done what you've done for a team the way that Cooper Kupp has for the Los Angeles Rams, he's always going to hold a special place here.
Absolutely. Once a Ram, always a Ram for him, for sure. It's just feeling weird. The vibes are just weird, like right now. But
he just broke up. He just took her out. They're talking about moving in together. It's like, you sure you're okay? I mean,
he's posting all those pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
He's revenge bod Kupp, right? He's posting the thirst traps of him and the Seahawks here and this and that. It's revenge bod Kupp right now. And he's feeling himself a little bit. So, hey, I'd be doing the same thing, but it's the vibe check is a lot. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And you can follow the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, at Travis Rogers. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.